Good morning, afternoon, or evening. How y'all doing today? Welcome back to Mr. Mole's math class. Today we're going to be talking about multiplying decimal numbers and multiplying by powers of 10. Two very important and powerful skills that will be used for the rest of your mathematical careers. So it's very important that we understand this. Okay, so let's just get right to it. First thing we're going to learn about is multiplying decimal numbers. When we're multiplying decimal numbers, guys, I want you to realize that you're going to multiply as normal. Okay? Just ignore the decimals at first. Pretend the decimals don't even exist. Just multiply as normal. Then, once you have your product, move the product's decimal at the far right of the product to the left. Okay, we're going to go to the left for as many places as there are numbers behind the decimal of the original numbers being multiplied. Remember that when you have any number, for example, 36, the decimal is behind the 6. It's at the far right of the number. If you have 312, it's at the far right of the number. Think of it as money. Of course, if you have 2.7, the decimal's right where it is. Okay? But if you have a whole number, again, like let's say 1,642, the decimal is at the far right of the number. Always remember that. And when we're multiplying by decimals, you're going to, like I said, multiply as normal. And then once you have your quotient, once you have your answer, you're going to take that decimal at the far right of the quotient, of the product, and you're going to move it to the left as many places as there are numbers behind the decimals of the original numbers being multiplied. And it's literally that easy. So let's try it out. All right, let's start. 3.29, or in other words, the right way to say that is 3 and 29 hundredths times 1 and 6 tenths. Ignore the decimals right now. Just ignore them and multiply as normal. 9 times 6 is 54. Carry the 5. Okay. I don't know why it's... Okay, there we go. And 6 times 2 is 12 plus 5. That's 17. Carry the 1. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 1 is 19. Skip a space because we already used the 6. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 3 is 3. Add them all together. We got 4. 7 plus 9 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 3 is 5. Now, my friends, we look at the number of numbers behind the decimal of the original numbers being multiplied. So here, don't I have 2 numbers behind this decimal? And don't I have 1 number behind this decimal? So how many numbers in total do I have behind decimals? So I start at the far right, because that's where my decimal is of this product, and I go to the left. 1, 2, 3. Then I must rewrite my product, guys. 5 and 264 thousandths. Very good job, son. And that's where we're at. Does that make sense? All right, awesome. Let's do one a little bit more challenging. Let's multiply. Let's see, what is this? This is tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000. This is 10,102 hundred thousandths times 213 thousandths. Let's do it. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times, I don't like that it does that, sorry. 3 times 1 is 3, we already put that. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. Skip a space because we already used the 3. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. Notice how I place everything Nice in order. Now I already used the 1, so I skip 2 spaces now. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 1 is 2. Let's add them all together. We ignore the decimals for now. 6, 2, 7, 1, 5, 1, and 2. Now, how many numbers or decimal places do I have here in total? How many numbers do I have behind this first decimal? How many, guys? 5. Very good. And how many do I have behind this decimal? So how many in total? 8. Very good, gentlemen. So I am going to move my decimal, which is at the far right of my product. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And look, 8. Very good, sir. Let me move this out of the way because I don't want this to confuse you here. Okay. That little space right here, guys, we got to put a 0, just like my boy just finished saying. Good job, sir. So now we rewrite the answer so it's nice and neat. So I've got 0.0215. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why it's jamming up on me like this today. There we go. So 51726. And this is tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. So this is 2,151,726 10 millions, correct? Or is it 100 millions? That's tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. So it's 2,151,726 100 millions. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Nice and easy, right? Good stuff. All right, let's continue. Let's multiply this one. I've got 12 and 352 thousandths times 1 and 34 hundredths. So let's multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 5 is 20. So I drop down to 0 and I carry over the 2. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. Skip a spot because I already used the 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 3 times 1 is 3. Then I skip 2 spaces now because I already used the 4 and I already used the 3. And now 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Let me move this guy out of the way. And 1 times 1 is 1. So now I just ignore the decimals and I just add these right now. So I've got 8, 6, 4 plus 5 is 9 plus 2 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10 plus 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5 plus 7 is 12 plus 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 2 is 6. And I have a 1 here. Now, how many numbers do I have behind this first decimal? No, 3. And behind this decimal? And in total? Very good. So I'm going to go to my decimal place of the here, let me move this out of the way. We're blocking the 1 there. Okay. Let me go to my far right because that's where my decimal is. And I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. And now let's rewrite it nice and neatly. So I've got 16. 16, and then we got 5, 5, 168. That's tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. So this would be 16 and 55,168 hundred thousandths. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Pretty simple, right? It's just like multiplying normal numbers, but at the end, you got to move the decimal to the left as many places as there are decimals in the original problems being multiplied. Okay, next. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 1 is 0, 1 times 3 is 3. Skip a space because I use this one. Then 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 8 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0. Now I skip 2 spaces because I use the 1 and this 0. Now I have 0 times 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 8 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0. So I have 1, 8, 0, 3. Now, how many decimal places do I have in this first value here? 3. And how many do I have in the second value? So how many do I have in total? 6. Very good. Very, very good. So I go to my decimal place at the far end of the product, which is the answer to a multiplication table or multiplication problem, and I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And very good, sir. I got 2 zeros here. So let's rewrite it nice and neatly. So I've got, this is my tens place, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. So this is 3,081 millions. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Okay, thank you. May I continue, gentlemen? Alrighty, awesome, thank you. Now, I'm going to teach you how to multiply by powers of 10, my friends. This is the easiest thing in the world if you follow my directions. If you do what I teach you today, you're going to love me for this, okay? First of all, before I can actually teach you guys how to multiply by powers of 10, let me explain what powers of 10 are. The powers of 10 are found by raising 10 to a whole number exponents, okay? You're raising 10 to different powers, to different exponents that are whole numbers. The answer will equal a 1 with the same number of zeros as there are exponents. For example, here are the first 6 powers of 10. I have 10 to the first power. So I'm going to have a 1 and 1 0. Why am I going to have 1 0? Because there's an exponent of 1. So this is going to equal 10. 10 to the second power. I'm going to write down a 1. But since I have an exponent of 2, how many zeros am I going to have behind the 1? 2. So this would be 100. For 10 to the third power, very good, my brother, I'm going to have a 1 with 3 zeros behind it, which would be 1,000. 10 to the fourth power, I'm going to have a 1 with 4 zeros behind it, 10,000. 10 to the fifth power, I'm going to have a 1 with 5 zeros behind it because I have an exponent here, as you can see, of 5. So I'm going to have 100,000. 10 to the sixth, I'm going to have a 1 and 6 zeros behind it. So that would be 1 million. So that's how we find powers of 10. Please don't fall into the trap of multiplying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 to find a power of 10. Simply write down the 1 and put the same number of zeros behind that 1 that is equal to the exponent. So just out of curiosity, if I gave you something ridiculous like 10 to the ninth, don't multiply 10 times itself 9 times. That's just a waste of your time. This is going to simply equal a 1, and very good, sir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. That, my friends, is 1 billion. Okay? Now, how does this work for multiplication, Mr. Morrow? Even easier, in my opinion. Now that we understand powers of 10, it's easy to multiply by powers of 10. In order to multiply by powers of 10, simply move the original number's decimal to the right for as many places as there are zeros behind the 1. It's literally that easy. Simply move the decimal to the right as many places as there are zeros behind the 1. So for example, number 1, how many zeros are behind the 1 here? So guys, you don't even have to multiply. Take this 12.35 and move the decimal 1 to the right. So that's going to equal 123.5. Done. Save a lot of time that way. Number 2, how many zeros do I have behind the 1? No, for number 2? 3. So I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that's going to equal 2.56. Done. Number 3, how many zeros do I have behind the 1? Guys? 4, very good. So I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, giving me 130,452. Done. Saves a lot of time. How many zeros do I have behind the 1 in number 4? 5. So take my 8.3 and move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, giving me a nice, beautiful number here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. These little blanks, I must fill in with zeros. So this is 830,000. Does that make sense, my friends? Easy peasy, right? All right, my brothers. Now, check it out. I have here for you multiplying and by decimal numbers practice problems with answers. Okay? And then on the next page, I have multiplying by powers of 10 practice problems. And then below that, I have the barcode for multiplying by powers of 10 practice problems answers. And let's do it. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you very much and have a great day.